She sat quietly in my tiny kitchen, eyes flickering over my shabby rundown home. The more she observed, the more she shifted uncomfortably on the cold wooden bench. I suppose I did forget to leave out the cushions. It's been a while. I mustered up the energy for a proper reply. She stared at me before sipping her tea to collect herself. I want to apologize. I spent the next few minutes pouring out my heartfelt speech that I had prepared. It was full of sorrow and regret for trying to sabotage her relationship with father. I even tearfully mentioned that particular day she was drenched in wine, glistening in the burgundy and expensive creamy silk. Her posture was stiff, still unsure of what to make of my words. Sorry. Her hand trembled as she took another sip. I could see the glassy wetness in her eyes. Her cup was nearly empty by now. Her lips raised ever so slightly. She always did have a sweet tooth and had practically dumped the whole bag of sugar on this batch. The conversation mindered. She was nursing her third cup by now. She was saying something about father when she trailed off, slumping into her seat. I checked her pulse. It was faint. I waited until it was gone. Then, in the middle of the night, we took a little road trip, stepmother and I. That gold digger seduced father kept him away from me for nearly a decade. I wasn't going to let her be anywhere near his grave. As I watched her corpse sink into the swampy water, I smiled. N3, on the road. All right, let's leave her cup alone. I can't forgive you. It's too late for that now. That, she left. I quickly began cleaning up. The remainder of the tea went down the drain, and I tossed the whole tea set into the dumpster. I waited. 2 weeks later, her lawyer contacted me with terrible, terrible news. When she had driven home that day, there was an accident. Her car careened off the cliff into the water. There were barely any remains left when they eventually fished her out. The investigation results suggested that she had fallen asleep at the wheel, exhausted from her recent loss. I smiled as I packed my meager belongings. It had taken several months, but the estate of my dearly departed parents was finally settled. I locked the door to the cabin, saying a silent farewell. The way up to this place was more curve and slope than anything else. It would have been my last time down this treacherous road. I don't know what father ever saw in this rotting shack. I didn't plan on ever coming back. After all, I was finally going to have a proper home, loving, prepared by my late stepmother. Ending to welcome home. Her face twitched before she let out a deep sigh. You didn't deserve father. I continued before she could retort. I want you out of my house, stepmother. So that's what this was all about? You never failed to disappoint. She tossed a business card at my face, glancing down at her untouched cup. Thanks for the tea. Any further communication will be through my lawyer. I soon found out that father had been living in her house. I was owed nothing, and one useless